what was the first step to validate your hypothesis?
I learned that joint accounts in Brazil were made for one person with an additional second person. This second person used to be women because back in the days, women were not allowed to have their own bank accounts. This is 2020, and women were still having to be like the second class citizen.
How does Noh tap into these cultural dynamics?
We're a bank that talks about your marriage. We're not just a bank that talks to you about interest rates. It's about, can you buy this new apartment? Can you buy a new car? Can you adopt a pet? All these decisions, they are more towards the relationship than the money.
What have been the most effective channel for acquiring new users?
We made our card white on purpose because, at least in Brazil right now, every single card has one color, one drawing. Everything is super colorful. We were the first white card in Brazil. So it evoked curiosity. When couples would get our card out of their wallets to pay, everybody would be like, what is this?
What is your approach to building a transparent culture?
Every single number is open. Every single meeting is open. Revenue, costs, salaries, everybody knows everything. We taught everybody how to read a P&L and everybody understands like where are you impacting on top line.
If we look 5 years into the future, what role do you hope Noh play in the daily financial life of these Brazilian families?
Every household has a Noh, and all their life is organized into one app. Right now, a current household in Brazil has 7 bank accounts. It's just a lot for you to keep track, watch, and move money. So when we tell these couples, like, combine everything into a single place and you're going to have full visibility of your household, this is what sticks to them. Everything in a single place. This is our selling value proposition.
Welcome back to Emerging Fintech Podcast, your weekly guide to financial technology innovation in emerging markets. I'm Tony Bravo, and through conversation with entrepreneurs, corporate innovators, regulators, investors, and industry experts, we explore how technology is transforming financial services across Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Today, I'm thrilled to have Ana Zucato, co-founder and CEO of Noh, Brazil's first social fintech built especially for couples. Ana has raised over $3 million in funding, one of the largest pre-seed rounds for a female-led company in Latin America. And Noh has already processed over $60 million in transactions with 400,000 app downloads. Ana built her career deep in Brazil's fintech ecosystem, starting at Guiabolso, one of Brazil's open banking pioneers, where she helped grow the platform to 6 million users. She then spent time at Intuit learning user-centered design before becoming country manager for Colombian company Truora's expansion into Brazil. But it was a personal frustration during the pandemic that sparked her biggest venture yet. Moving in with her husband, Ana realized that there was literally no good way for couples to manage money together in Brazil. What she discovered was shocking. Joint accounts were still designed for one person plus a second person. Historically, women who weren't even allowed their own bank accounts. In 2020, women were still being treated as second-class citizens in the banking system. In today's conversation, you will hear how Ana leveraged Brazil's Pix instant payment system and open banking to create something completely new, why they became Brazil's first white credit card to spark curiosity, their viral social media strategy featuring real couples in a reality show, and Ana's radical transparency approach where every employee knows everyone's salary and reads the company's P&L. We dive into her ambitious vision to consolidate the average Brazilian household 7 bank accounts into one Noh. Her contrarian philosophy that AI should maximize your money rather than replicate your financially stupid brain, and why she thinks you have to separate signal from noise when building something truly innovative. Let's jump right into it. Hi, Ana. Welcome to the Emerging Fintech Podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hi, Tony. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to talk with you today.
Ana, I would love to start with your story. Could you walk us through your journey, early days to founding Noh? What were some defining moments that shape your path?
This is an interesting question because it's easy to say that there were defining moments when we look back to the story. But I always put the disclaimer that while I was building my career, I was not one of these intentional people that planned for every single step. The only thing I knew for sure was that eventually I wanted to start my own company. What I didn't know was how to plan to get there. So I started my career in e-commerce in a moment in time in Brazil where e-commerces barely exist. So I remember vividly the moments in which my customers were not used on paying online and they came to the office to pay for their purchases, which in an e-commerce business is just crazy because the whole idea is for you to pay online, right? And then at that time, this was 2010, I realized that Brazil was going to go through a big shift in fintech and payments in general, and I wanted to be a part of it. So this is when I migrated to fintech. Started working at Guiabolso, which was one of Brazil's pioneering startups using the open finance, actually creating the open finance. It was a personal finance management app. We were able to grow that to like 6 million users. I was doing product back then. And in between that experience, I launched one pivot, let's call it like that, from Guiabolso, which ended up becoming Brazil's first personal finance loans. So this was amazing, and I built that with the guy that is now my co-founder. After that, I spent a little time at Intuit because I was feeling that even though Brazil is amazing, huge, we didn't have the experience to build fintech products, so I wanted to learn from the best. And sometime also being country manager on a Colombian company entering Brazil, which was when I stopped being product only and started becoming a more of a generalistic role on a director level. And then I started Noh.
I want to zoom in your early days in Guiabolso and Intuit. Actually, I got a really good interview with Benjamin Gleason, one of the founders of Guiabolso, and he said amazing things about how he get started. But I really want to dive into these two roles in Guiabolso and Intuit. What was the most valuable lesson you learned in those environments that you applied to building Noh?
Listening to your customers, observing your customers. I think it's impossible for you to build a unicorn or a huge company without actually being able to pinpoint your customers' needs, pains, and struggles. And I think this is something that Intuit specifically does it really well. So they developed this specific design thinking methodology inside Intuit, which is known, like it's a Harvard business case, known for putting users in the center of the innovation. This is the lesson that I bring every day to my work.
And moving forward to your next role as a country manager for Truora, this Colombian company that you mentioned, how this experience shape your understanding of what you want to build or what you want to build for Noh?
It's interesting because it didn't shape me for what I wanted to build, but more on how I wanted to build it. So when I joined Truora, it was the middle of the pandemic, and the founder, which is Daniel, he was looking for someone to grow his business in Brazil because Spanish-speaking Latin America is quite different than Portuguese-speaking, which it's basically Brazil. And he had a product, he had a team, but he didn't have the local knowledge to be able to escalate his company there. But I was already starting to think what my thesis would be. And then when I met Danny, my ask for him was like, can you show me all the behind the scenes on being an entrepreneur, and I'll help you grow your company in Brazil. For me, it was good because I wasn't a specific role. I was country manager, so I was doing everything from sales to marketing to even HR, recruiting, and the product, localizing some of the product capabilities to Brazil. But he showed me all the behind the scenes on what his life was. He also, he involved me in big decisions such as hire, fire decisions, hard conversations with the board, hard conversations with your co-founder, so on and so forth. And the one thing that I learned the most from that experience was the transparency which for me right now is a foundation of how I'm building now. Super transparent and letting everyone know that even though you're the founder, you might not have all the answers, and being super radically transparent with your team. The thesis of Noh actually was being born in my personal life. So it had nothing to do with Truora or even actually any of my past experiences, but it was just a personal struggle that I've been facing, it was the pandemic again, and my husband had just moved in. And the first month was amazing, love all over. We were super delighted. But then in the second month, I came to my realization that, okay, we have bills to pay. How are we supposed to do that? It's 2019. There must be an easier way. So it was my first time looking for a financial solution for couples, and simply there were none.
And I understand that this a personal aha moment made you realize that there was a problem behind worth solving, right? So what was the first step to validate your hypothesis?
The first step for me was asking my friends, like, does anyone else has this problem? Like, how are you guys doing it on your houses? And then I realized that two things were happening. The incumbents, they were digitalizing the products, like the incumbent banks were digitalizing the products, however, their individual bank accounts. So I learned that joint accounts in Brazil were made for one person with an additional second person. This second person used to be women because back in the days, women were not allowed to have their own bank accounts. I was like, oh my God. And none of these banks had updated their product. And this is 2020. And women were still having to be like the second class citizen inside each bank account. So that was not working. And on the other side, we had the neobanks building solutions, building features and products for individuals. Again, there was simply no way for couples to do that. So my question, after asking all my friends how they were doing it, and after validating that the market had no easy solution for that, the next big thing was I called my co-founder and I said, we need to start prototyping something to understand what would the value prop be for this solution. We were calling it a multiplayer solution at first. So the first use case we validated was the use case of one bill being paid but debiting from two accounts at the same time. So this is how payment works today, right? You pay a bill and the entire amount of this bill debits from your account, 100%. However, when we are two people, our question was like, how can we make this split and the charge into two accounts? So our first prototype was actually launching a debit card that we invited 10 couples, and I sent them this mock-up card that was linked to their individual accounts. And behind the scenes, I was manually splitting every single transaction. So super risky. These cards, they were topped up with my personal money, and I was risking this money because these couples could use the card basically unlimited. And that was how we started our MVP and validation. And this is how I onboarded like 50 couples in 50 WhatsApp groups, and how I was able to learn how they pay bills, what bills do they pay, when they pay, how do they split, was splitting even a thing, what do they talk about, because remember, we were embedded in their WhatsApp groups, so we had the advantage of seeing their conversations. So we spent in this MVP mode 6 months, I would say, like 6 cash flow cycles, because the cash flow in Brazil is a monthly flow. And this is what gave us the knowledge and learnings about how to evolve this product. So this is how it started.
I found it interesting because I think in one of a few interviews you have, like you describe on your website, you describe like this company as a social fintech. So what exactly does that mean to you, and how does it shape your product philosophy?
Correct. And this is my favorite thing to say, like the moment of the market is where fintech is commoditized. Like B2C and direct to consumer fintechs are commodities already. However, they stopped innovating on the individual scope. Literally, as I told you, nobody was looking for the groups, the families, the couples, the multiplayer, the social experience. And when I say social, I don't mean peer-to-peer. I mean many to many, end to end. I needed to build a solution that could reflect how we live our lives. And this is something that I always say, life is not about the money, but without money, there's no life. So it kind of is about the money. And in Latin America specifically, we're super social. We're always in groups. Like 80% of adults in Brazil are in relationships. We're all families. We share houses, we share cars, we share even clothes and food, and we're together with all the people all the time. And I know all the other countries are like this, but Latin America specifically has this more exacerbated. So when I say a social fintech, I mean a fintech that could mirror our life experience. So if I live with my husband and I'm buying my food together with him, then this food needs to be reflected, this transaction needs to be reflected in our two accounts. Like the two individuals need to be informed, have access, have visibility in real time. There is no space anymore for us to keep doing individual finances when we live in a social life. And I think this is the next trend of where most software is going. Like you can see even Spotify, Netflix, even Amazon, all of them are starting to build social capabilities so that you can share your Spotify with someone else, so that you can share your playlist with your husband, so on and so forth. But the thing is, these products were born individual and they are adding up social capabilities. Whereas for us, we were born social. And this transforms the user experience radically. So it's a bank account entirely thought for two people from scratch. From your first interaction to your daily payments to your long-term investments, everything is thought as a social, with a social eye.
And I see your appreciation for this strong cultural inclination towards sharing in Brazil. So how does not tap into these cultural dynamics in ways that might be different from fintech approaches in other markets?
Because we are talking about relationships. We're a bank that talks about your marriage. And we're not just a bank that talks to you about interest rates or investment opportunities. It's not about that. So we have all this layer that we call the relational layer that allows you to speak to your partner about hard money decisions, about future life plans, about what are you going to do when one of you guys loses your job? Can you buy this new apartment? Can you buy a new car? Can you adopt a pet? So all these decisions, they are more towards the relationship than the money, but it ends up being a money discussion. And if you have your finances all separated with no visibility, no accountability, no access, it becomes really, really hard. So it adds an extra layer of complexity to an already hard conversation. Our solution and our values all along the way is, how can we make these two people talk more about money? How can we make their lives better, knowing that all their money decisions will be shared, combined, and decided jointly?
Talking about the features, you started doing it manually, as you mentioned before, but I know that the open banking legislation started creating new opportunity for companies like Noh, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how central has this regulated framework been to your ability to build what you envision?
I think the first big thing that we can see in Brazil, and we unfortunately cannot see everywhere else, it's Pix, our instant payment solutions. And Pix allows anyone to move money instantaneously for free and with tracking. So it's just amazing. There are no more checks, there are no more papers, there's no physical money in Brazil anymore. And this has been the first big innovation that allowed us to think of a solution like this, because before Pix, all we had was the equivalent of wires. And as you might know, a wire takes like 24, eventually it takes 48 hours to complete, and it costs you like dollars, like $2 to $3. It's just super expensive. Our logic was, until Pix was born, no one would be willing to move from their individual accounts to their joint accounts. Like, we position ourselves as a joint account, and we are super specifically when we say that Noh is your first, second account. And hopefully it's your only second account. We're not fighting for share of wallet with your individual account where you get your salary, for example, because you as a human being have to have your individual account always there. And then you now add the second account. How is the money going to move in between these two accounts? So Open finance has made it super easy with Pix, which was the biggest first innovation. And then the second, which was the innovation that we were happy to be the first ones to launch in Brazil last year, 2024, was payment initiation. So instead of you being in your primary bank and sending a Pix to your second bank, which is Noh, like the couple's bank, you are in Noh's environment and then you request a Pix from your individual account. And now we start to see something that's super amazing and your mind blows up because money can be moved without you having to access your bank. And that is transformative for the society, for how we see money and how we move money. So these two things were the foundation capabilities via which, thankfully, we were able to build our company. I would say that without these two, we would be broken if we ever existed at all.
And as you mentioned before, you want to put the couples at the center of the accounts, not just individuals. And then from account management, you start expanding to other products like investment. What motivated you to move beyond just account management into investment services, for example?
Customers' needs. So we talk with couples all the time, and we do understand that they have needs in moving money, on saving money, on investing money, on credit cards, everything. So all your entire financial stack that you can think for one, you have to understand that in Latin America, it's probably used by two. So it's not uncommon for you to go to a house and see the two people sharing the same credit card or sharing the same debit account. But the problem is that these credit cards and these debit accounts, they are all always tied to one of the two. So what we did basically is, and this is why we're called Noh, which in Portuguese means not, we basically tied two accounts into a single ledger. And then these two accounts now can move money, can invest money, can operate on debit cards, can pay Pix, can pay payment slips, can see all the transactions, can even create fun names for the accounts, and can edit every single transaction's name. So it's a different perspective because it's two accounts combined into one versus the mess that people used to make on a single account that you don't have access. And how we evolved our financial products was, well, it was kind of obvious because, again, as I said, people are already using these products into. The problem was that they could not do it in a compliant, regulated way before. And one of them was always losing visibility or access or having to keep asking for your partner for money, which simply doesn't make sense in 2025.
And with over K app downloads and over 60 million in transaction process, like Noh has gained an impressive traction overall. What have been the most effective channel for acquiring new users in Brazil, especially because you need to acquire a couple? It's just not individual, but you need to convince two people to get to download the app and start using it and using as one of their accounts. So I'm intrigued by your acquisition strategy.
The first thing that we learned was this product is so obvious. It's obvious to the point that when you face it for the first time, you say, I need this. Of course I need this. So it's interesting to say that our biggest acquisition channel has been our positioning and branding. So when we say we are the account for couples, and if you are a couple, you can automatically and instantly say, oh, that's for me. That makes sense because there is no accounts for couples. So now it seems like there is something. Let me give it a try. And the product itself and word of mouth have been our main drivers for the beginning because, again, it's a product that should exist. People expect it to exist. Just like myself, when I started to live with my husband, I was like, there must be something out there. So whenever a couple is going through this inflection point, they Google account for couples, joint accounts and everything, and they find us. And then second thing is the positioning, the brand and the product, they have to work. They have to match all these expectations. And we could see a lot of users being acquired through word of mouth. So whenever couples love to double date, right? Couples live with other couples, basically. So it's triple dates, four couples dates. I don't know how that's called, but they're always together. And when they would get our card out of their wallets to pay, everybody would be like, what is this? Because we made our card white on purpose because at least in Brazil right now, every single card has one color, one drawing, one image. Everything is super colorful. And we were like, okay, let's do it white. We were the first white card in Brazil. So it evoked curiosity. So that was super helpful. And then I would say that the third and fourth things, they're kind of the same, which is content. Content creation from inside the company, like ourselves telling the stories of how we're building the company, which I post on LinkedIn every single day since day one, like the behind the scenes of everything that we're doing. And then the second thing, we created this reality show that's called Casal Nó, which in Portuguese translates to Nó couple Nó, like a Nó couple. And basically this couple takes over our Instagram account and they have one mission, which is to go viral. And if they do, they get stock options on the company. So then people started to want to become a Noh couple, to be broadcasted in our Instagram account. At the same time that the couples that were taking over the accounts, some of them produced so much content that we were going viral. It was blowing up. So 2 lines of content, our own creations and the couples, which is, it's not famous people, it's not influencers, it's not anything. It's just a couple that is our client and that has knowledge to create content. And you can see this if you want to follow us on Instagram.
Actually, sorry to interrupt, but actually white is a very smart choice because it relates to marriage in white. So I really think it was very, very clever.
Yeah.
Just want to say that.
No, I didn't even think about that because at first, so the white thing is, one, we need to differentiate. And our card really works as a branding for us because it's physical. It's the only part of the experience that's 100% offline. And then second thing, we knew that we were going to have 2 cards in each house, right? Person number 1's and person number 2's card. So we needed to provide them with tools that will help them identify whose card is whose. So our card is white, but we give them stickers to personalize. So every single card comes with a set of stickers so that you can put colors in here, you can add, and this circle here is for you to put your favorite color in here. So we needed it to be white so that people could create whatever they want as if it was a blank canvas. And now you're adding the third reason, which is it relates to wedding. That's nice. I'll add that to my next story.
You can actually personalize it. For example, the groom has a black car and then the bride has a white car.
That makes sense.
Infinite, there's infinity options that you can do. But that was amazing. I really want to zoom in into the social content creation strategy because you guys have been successful on TikTok with content frequently going viral. So what is your approach to social media, and has anything surprised you about what resonates with your audience actually?
It has not surprised me, but it's something that I've been able to validate. What resonates with people nowadays is authenticity. Be yourself. And just like the conversation that we're having here, it's the same conversation that I have with my clients every Tuesday, that I log into our Instagram account, I open those question box, and I stay the whole day talking to them. Every single user that downloads the app gets an email from me with my personal WhatsApp number so that we can talk more. And I think when you're putting a face out there, it really helps because people don't see you as an app, as a bank, as an institution. They see you as a person, and when they see you as a person, they can connect. Again, in our company, we are selling relationship wellness, right? So we need to establish a personal relationship with every single one of our clients, and this has been in our DNA since day one. Content create, so I was able to validate that people want to talk to humans when it comes to telling narratives, telling stories. Why is the card white? Why are we doing this feature and not that feature? Why are we called? Who is our competitor? Who is our bank provider? So on and so forth. As I said, in my LinkedIn, I post all the time on the behind the scenes. In our TikTok, we post more about our team testing stuff. So literally us building stuff and testing and seeing if it works. So people are just curious. And I think that's amazing. If you really want to target millennials and Gen Z, they don't want to see your beautiful posts with your influencer celebrities showing a life that they're never going to have. They want to see real people doing real things, moving money in ways that make sense to them. Instagram, then we have the reality show. And then last year, one of Brazil's biggest influencer for finances, she started to use our app because she was getting engaged. And then when she started to use the app, she was like, just like me 3 years ago, she was like, okay, this is a must. Everyone needs this. My parents got divorced because they fought a lot about money, and we came to the realization that people fight a lot about money. So she came to us and she said, I want to create content for you. I want to be your brand's ambassador. So this would be our fourth pillar on content creation, which is her, a big content creator / influencer that talks about finances, that has over 1 million followers in Instagram only, becoming our brand ambassador and becoming like a partner in the company.
And talking about the vision of the company, Noh began as a billing sharing focusing especially on couples. And as you look forward, I understand your vision has evolved toward becoming a multiplayer bank that orchestrates money from multiple accounts. Can you tell us more about this current direction?
So for you guys to understand what we're seeing, basically we have to debundle the way we see the banking experience. Right now, before we had to go to a bank, physical in person, order a check, and then move our money via mail. It evolved to doing everything, all of these same behaviors, but inside an app in which you have all the capabilities in there, but basically you have to keep clicking on everything. The way we're seeing the future, using open finance and using AI is a future in which basically the user doesn't have to do anything. And your money is going to flow as it should. Then basically you're going to be just accepting the movements that you have either previously orchestrated or that we have identified as a movement that needs to be made. For couples specifically, because, well, most of your expense, if you are a couple, 95% of your expenses are shared. So you need to find it in a single place. And this is where we're headed. We want to become the automator, like the orchestrator for the household money in Brazil. So a place in which a family unit, a household, let's call it like that, can track, see, and move, make all their money movements that they want with the minimum action needed by the user. A place where they can make sure that their money is going to be invested into good opportunities, that they can plan for the future, that they can have peace of mind. And I think it's not that hard to imagine now in 2025 because we're seeing AI do all this magic stuff. But back in 2020, it was a little bit harder. Now for us, we have to run to acquire every single couple in Brazil and to onboard them into our solution so that we can start having enough data to train some models that will predict your next money movements.
You mentioned about the household, right? And the couple has kids, has a family. So if we look 5 years into the future, what role do you hope Noh is playing in the daily financial life of these Brazilian families?
That every household has a Noh and all their life is organized, controlled into one Noh app. So basically, right now we already have the multi-user, the multiplayer solution. We're narrowing it down for 2 because we need to start super narrow. And then as soon as this couple start having kids, which a lot of our users already ask for, then this kid needs to have another card tied to this account. This couple is looking after their parents because their parents are getting old. So they need to move money. Sometimes this couple is managing their parents' money. So everything has to be super connected in a way that makes it easy for them and not cumbersome or a hustle. Right now, a current household in Brazil has on average 7 bank accounts. It's just a lot for you to keep track, watch, and move money. So when we tell these couples, like, combine everything into a single place and you're going to have full visibility of your household, this is what sticks to them. Everything in a single place. This is our selling value proposition. And in 5 years from now, hopefully we're gonna be able to suit parents, kids, and maybe even other couples that you hang out with or that you travel with or your friends.
Yeah, being all the family relatives being together with just a couple of accounts,
Exactly.
just like you mentioned before. I want to like talk about more about your experience fundraising. You raised 3 million in seed funding, which is an impressive mark in any market, but particularly notable as one of the largest pre-seed rounds for a female-led company in Latin America. How did the fundraising experience compared to your expectations?
It was crazy. I think the word is crazy. It was my first time doing fundraising. This was 2021. I had a lot of angels advise me. So part of this round was raised prior with a couple of angels. And these guys, such as my former bosses, such as Ben Gleason, such as Danielle Bilbao from Truora, like people that I've worked with before, they were kind of teaching me how to do it. However, we had already a prototype. So remember I told you, like I had 50 couples using the cards and I had a lot of information, transactions, and data. So the product had a fit. We actually had revenue because we were charging a subscription back then already. So for me, it's not enough to have a cool prototype, like show me the money. So we had everything already kind of tested. And when I started pitching investors, they arrived to the same conclusions that our users, which is like, wait, this doesn't exist. This should exist. Like, how come this doesn't exist? And now I always say it's kind of an obvious thing. It is obvious, but no one's done it before. So then I remember vividly that I was pitching investors for, 2 weeks, and we got a lot of term sheets. Like we were oversubscribed super fast. I think it was really an unexplored space in fintech. No one was looking at it. No one was looking at B2C. SaaS was blowing up back then. So basically there was nothing in consumer fintech. So it felt like a good opportunity for them. And this is how we closed it. And I think we were lucky enough to find good investors that are supporters and believers of Latin America, of fintech, of social finances, of consumer facing apps, and that do understand it really well. And a lot of angels that we've previously worked with. So I had no expectations when I joined. Actually, I thought that we were going to apply to IC. This was August, right? My plan was to apply to IC, go to their winter program, graduate from there, and then after demo day, think about how fundraising would go. But the timeline was completely messed up. As soon as I had some angels in August, they introduced me to a couple of VCs. I was pitching, and then we closed the round in a matter of 2 months. But then 2 weeks. But then again, this was 2021, right? I don't think it compares to the current market conditions at all. So for everyone's listening to this, like keep that in mind. It's not easy. It wasn't easy, but it's not easy.
Still, what type of advice would you give to fintech entrepreneurs when they pitch to angels and VCs? Now that you have gone through that experience, what was the highlight for you that everybody say, I am on board,
I think first of all, you have to have like founder industry fit. Like me and my co-founder, we've been working in fintech for the past, 12 years back then. So it was a lot. We knew how to operate a fintech. We knew what we had to do. We knew the people that we had to talk to launch our product. So that bridge was already crossed. And then second, you have to have a super, super narrow and clear hair on fire problem. Like you have to have already validated that this problem is real. It's important that people care about it, that as soon as you show them a solution, they will adopt. And then third, some founders say this is a nice to have, but for me, it's a must have. You have to have a monetization route. You have to have your business model orchestrated from day one. 3 things applied for us. Like we had fit with the industry. We had our hair on fire problem because people were getting divorced because of money, and divorce is like harsh. And we had a business model that we had already validated. People were paying a subscription for it. So these 3 things are super helpful. And the cherry on top of all this, you have to be able to articulate super well to your potential investors what's the current scenario in Brazil, what's the current macroeconomic scenario in Brazil, because oftentimes your investors are not going to be local. Like the local ones, they do understand what you're talking about when you say peaks, when you talk about like trends. But I remember telling my foreign investors, the ones that were not from Brazil, saying, like, I started my pitch saying, there are no joint accounts in Brazil. And people were like, what? And I'm like, they don't exist. And that made it super obvious for them because, for instance, here in the US, every account has a joint account. So for an American person, it's kind of implicit that the joint solution is going to be there. So when you can articulate to your investors what your country differs from their country and give enough context for them to be able to understand the scenario, but not too deep context that you totally lose their attention because you're going so deep into technicalities, then you get their attention. I think it's not easy, but you have to practice a lot, and you have to, again, know your audience, know who you're talking to, know who you're observing. And I think these were the 4 things that helped us get a successful round.
Well, so happy you made it. Just want to like learn more about when you just successfully fundraise the 3 million. Then it was time to hire, killer team. So, what qualities do you prioritize when bringing new people into this early stage environment?
I wouldn't say qualities, but the first thing we prioritized was people that we have already worked with. So again, me and my co-founder, because we've been working in this industry for a long time, we created our wish list of people, and we were pitching to every single one of them. So it was more important to us to get a team that already worked with us, that know how we operate, that understand the vision and what we're doing there, because we want to cut corners. But at the same time, we don't want to keep explaining basic stuff for super junior people. So I'm sorry, super junior people, but this company isn't for you, because I'm a true believer that when you're launching a company, either you have super fast learners that are basically your followers and that love you and that somehow they know about you and they want to build whatever you're building, or you have to have the senior people that you've worked with before. So this was the first criteria. And then second criteria was like, do you understand how fast do we need to move to bring the solution to life? And do you know how to work in a fast moving environment? We call our team like the MVT, minimum viable team. So we put together what would be like the minimum team that we would need to launch our product in 2 months after our money was in the bank. And we did it. Yeah. So it's not a specific quality or something, but like people that love the early days. And I think being able to move in a fast speed environment, it's already a validator if you are good to work in the early days.
My understanding is that one of the things that successful companies do first is to establish core values. So, not emphasize curiosity, innovation, and creativity as core values. So, how do you cultivate these qualities in practice with your team?
I think we are applying, believe it or not, the same processes that we've been using for the past 4 years. We had experience in startups and in big tech, so we basically kind of had the processes that we liked and the processes that we disliked. So instead of coming up with new processes or reinventing the wheel there, we were like, let's make a potpourri of the things that we like the most, and let's put together one format that works the best for us. So we decided to use proposals, which is more or less like what Amazon does, what Netflix do. You have this proposal, which is basically a requirement for any project that you are willing to create or change. Because everything you're doing in work, you're basically creating something new or changing something that already exists, right? So for these 2 options, you have to propose something. Okay, so what's your proposal? So basically, the company revolves around proposals. Everything that you want to move or create, you have to create a proposal. We have a specific template, and then that's it. We talk to customers, we listen to them all the time. So we made sure that our entire company had all eyes, ears, all channels connected to a single Slack source, which is our voice of customer, like our VOC channel, that we grab insights from email, from social networks, from feedbacks, from App Store ratings, from every single place, so that we are everybody all the time looking at like what customers are talking about us. And this has given us speed, agility. So for everything that we build, there's a proposal. For every proposal, there's a result. For every result, we either keep up with that or we destroy it. I remember that for our first 2 years, we were doing 100 launches a year. So basically like 2 big launches every single week. It was insane, intense, but we were fast experimenting. We were experimenting like super, super fast and radically. And this is how we maintain our creativity. Like we sit down in front of a proposal and we state, what's the problem that we want to solve? Let's brainstorm real quick. What's everybody doing out there? What are we going to do? Thinking from first principles, like thinking stuff, multiplayer. because no one's doing multiplayer well. So we cannot benchmark really much. So it's just us thinking. And I guess that's it.
You mentioned that you promise transparency to your users. So what is your approach to building a transparent culture that leads?
Well, first of all, we have to be transparent. So inside the company, let me give you a couple of examples. Like every single number is open, every single meeting is open, every single results, like revenue, costs, salaries, everybody knows everything. Like it's spread into spreadsheets that everybody has access to. On our all hands every week, we go through all the numbers, we see everything. And if you're a developer, if you're a marketer, if you're a human resources person, it's irrelevant. Like we honestly don't care. So people can pitch ideas and can question each other's about their impact and their cost. So it's basically we taught everybody how to read a P&L and everybody understands like where are you impacting on top line, how much are you costing, or how much is this initiative costing. So the whole company revolves around our P&L. That's basic, but it's a lot of effort because we're uniting people that don't come from the same background. So for some, it's harder than for others, but it's something that we like, it's a must here inside the company. Every project is open. There's nothing behind closed doors. Every fundraising is open. Everybody knows what everybody's doing because every Friday we have to give accountability. Like we have a company review in which every single person says like, did I do what I said I was going to do or didn't I? But keep in mind, we're only 12 people, right? So that's somehow easy to do. But still, people are super accountable to their compromises. And then we took the same approach to our customers. We talk to our customers. One of our values on our customer support team is like, talk to your clients like you talk to your friends. So for example, if your friend calls you and you cannot pick up, you text, I'll call you back, right? This is what we do with our clients. Like no one is left without an answer. No one is spoken to with technical words. Everything that we say that we're gonna do, we either do it or we inform them that we didn't do. Everything that we do, we explain why. So for example, our product is a subscription-based product. It's super unusual for Brazil because Brazilians are used on having all their bank accounts for free. Our model is different. Our business model, as I said, it's a subscription fee, and everybody was like, what? So the first thing that we did is like, I wrote a letter explaining like, this is the 10 reasons why we are a subscription-based company. And this up until today is the most accessed page in our website. Like people are curious about that. I know for a fact that other companies have printed that page and they have put as a benchmark in the wall to say like, this is what transparent communication looks like. For us, again, I'm talking to a friend. So if my friend is charging me money, I ask why, and then she explains that to me. So I think it's our moral duty to do that with our customers as well. The same thing happens with launches, for example, features requests that are not in our roadmap. I see this all the time, people asking for features in other companies and people saying, let me pitch that to my product team, and if it goes into the roadmap, I'll let you know. And in Noh, we say, this is not in the roadmap. It's not gonna be launched in 2025. If this is super important for you, learn, because we're not launching it. Do you know what happens when we do that? People stay. Because for the first time in their lives, they feel treated with respect, with transparency, and they know that the yeses we're gonna say, and the nos we're also gonna say. So this is how we're doing transparent. We're being transparent, radical, like treating people as our friends. And it works shockingly.
I'm actually shocked and surprised by this, and thank you for sharing it. How do you maintain this transparency as you scale? Have you pictured yourself what you scale into thousands and thousands of users? Will that be the same experience or will that change a little bit? What do you think is going to happen?
I don't see why not. Like, listen, people think that transparency means hours and hours of customer conversations. It does not. Transparency means talk to people as if they were your friends, be open, leave the door open. As I told you, like every single one of these 400,000 people that have downloaded the app, they have my number. How many of those actually do contact me? Very, very few. But when we ask them, like, what do you love about the company? They say, I love the fact that the founder has opened her WhatsApp. They don't talk to me, but they love the idea. So it's not as if I have like a lot of work to do. But I mean, my theory is as we grow, nothing on communications wise will change. What will change is how we talk to people. Like now I have one-on-ones with my customers. Maybe in like 2 years, I'll have one on hundreds with my customers. But it's irrelevant because I think if the speech is there, if the method of working is there, it's there. For example, we launched our podcast right now. And basically, it's a podcast of me and my co-founder telling the story of how we built the company. It's not for our clients because they don't care. It's for other entrepreneurs and people on the ecosystem or people that want to start their own businesses. Do you know what happens? They say, oh my God, this is super transparent. Because it's who we are. We are transparent with the clients on the podcast, on LinkedIn, here. It's the same person. So it's kind of easy when you don't have to hide behind any curtains. Believe it or not, it's easier than when you do. Because you're just yourself all the time. So you don't have to hide anything. I hope
I love
that I
it.
can, I hope that I can maintain this for the future. I hope we do scale a lot. And I hope that my ones become one on hundreds. I don't see us changing.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And as a leader, what has been the most challenging aspect of scaling now? And how have you adapt your leadership style to address it?
To ask for help for me, because like I have a background in product. I'm a very detail oriented person, and all the work that we did in terms of what is this product, how it's supposed to work, what's the brand, what's the positioning, how do we talk, what's our language, so on and so forth, everything came originally from me. Asking for help and delegating has been the hardest thing ever because it's really, really hard to replicate and to explain your vision to people all the time. Because we're moving at so fast that basically either you move or you stop to explain to someone how you thought about this next movement, which for me, it's just hard. So the biggest complaint that I hear from my peers is like, you're centralizing everything, you're not delegating, please count on us, so on and so forth. And I think it's still something that I have to learn how to do because I have a hard time explaining sometimes what's on my head. But I don't know, they are smart. They're asking ChatGPT, like, what would Ana Zucato do in this situation? And because I have a lot of content out there, the chat sometimes gets it right. So it's getting easier, but not because I'm getting better, because they are getting smarter. And I think that's it.
That's a good one. Use ChatGPT to get to know more your CEO and the founder.
Yes.
Especially as you are vocal and outspoken in social media, I think like they capture your data. Yeah, to get to know you more, right?
It's like hack your CEO.
Yeah, your CEO as a service will be,
Yeah.
but that's a funny one. What is the best advice you have received in your career that was fundamental, not only to know, but also in your personal life as a human being?
I think it's one thing that I keep hearing from all my close support network, which involves like my husband, my angel investors, my team, my sister, and my friends, and it's other entrepreneurs, which is like learned how to separate the noise from the signal. Whenever you're building something, the easiest thing to do, like the easiest way to get lost is to ask for everybody else's opinion. And when you're starting a business, sometimes it's tricky because sometimes you want other people's opinion because it's more experienced people, because you value their opinion or their learnings, or because you think that they can help you accelerate your knowledge. But what I've learned along the way is that every business is unique. Every business has its own edge, its own metrics, its own user behavior. And sometimes things that worked for other companies simply will not work for you. And learn how to separate the signal from the noise, because the noise is going to be there all the time. And you can get super overwhelmed super fast, like super anxious with a lot of information, a lot of insights, and a lot of people telling you, like, even like people even tell you to pivot. You know, they say, I like what you're doing, but why don't you change entirely your business and build something in health? And I'm like, Jesus, no. But then in the end, you're like, why am I not doing something in health? You know, like it gets in your mind. So this is something that I've been training for the past years, is like irrelevant. I'm not going to listen to that. I'm going to continue my own way and follow my intuition. And I stopped For example, reading all businesses books. I don't read them anymore because it's a lot of noise for me. It creates a lot of unfair comparisons. The book of how Netflix was built or the book on how Apple, like different companies, different periods in time, it's noise for me at least. So this has been the biggest advice that I tried to follow every single day.
I will definitely follow that too. Thank you for sharing.
It's hard, but like once you start doing it, you're like, this is noise, ignore. This is signal. Okay, let me follow and build something on top of it.
Yeah, there's actually a term, signal noise ratio, which is an engineer term. I don't want to nerd it out, but basically, if the signal is more than the noise, then when you just divide it, you get plus like over one, right? If it's less, you get less than one. So that's actually something very valuable that you have to say, like, let's ignore the noise because it actually subtracts more than some, you know?
I didn't even know that. And yes, I can resonate. It is what happens. Like it puts you back on track.
And in terms of technology trends, everybody's talking about AI and the implications and the outcomes that could be for fintech. What are you excited the most about this trend?
I'm excited for the day that AI will dominate the world and we can just retire and be happy. No, but honestly, I'm an AI enthusiast. I love everything about it. I think it's helping us manage our work like hundreds of times faster. I don't think it changes the logics on how on why businesses should be built. We should be built for solving a really strong problem that only you can solve well and gain competitive advantage while doing so with your personal creativity and taste. I think this remains, but if the AI can absorb all of the mess, all of the workflows, all of the stupid things that we do to leave our brains less foggy, to let us think about these four things, because I don't think like humans will be replaced on these four things yet. I love it. I think not only in terms of putting AI into your product, but also about how you build like how founders build companies. So Sam Altman has this bet, right? In which like, when are you gonna see the first company made by a single human that's worth $1 billion? And I truly think that that's gonna be doable, because I would say that 70% of my time I'm doing the same things over and over every single day. Whereas it's creating content, learning user feedbacks, seeing business metrics, briefing my team, talking to them, getting alignment on projects. It's like this exact same thing every single day. But we still lose like tens of thousands of hours doing that. So why can't it just be like super simple? And let us bring our taste to the product. Let us bring our strategic vision to why this product should exist. And then this goes back to the thing that I was saying before, like putting your face in the company and people start using your product because they know that you are going to be there. It's a competitive advantage in compared to something that's 100% automated, a bank that has like a facade in front, or even AI tools that you're oftentimes talking to a bot that you know it doesn't exist. So I don't know. And in terms of the product, we will be embedding AI into the product. We have done a couple of tests before, but now our biggest challenge is how to predict what your next money movement will be. And for that, we need data to train the models. And for data, we need users. So we need to grow. So instead of trying to run models with the small user base that we have today, we're prioritizing growing to become more smart, to become smarter.
Yeah, I'm looking forward that you guys nailed it, because I really want that no AI control my finances and see what I'm doing next. You know, pay the bills, you know, pay whatever I'm missing, because sometimes like subscription services, for example, right? Like you forget to just, you know, your insurance is expired or payment fell. I don't want to deal with that.
You don't want to deal with that. Nobody does. It's insane. It's boring. You have a lot of anti-fraud that you have to go through to complete like basic transactions. Sometimes you have to go through this insane anti-fraud flow. Our vision is you don't have to log into the app anymore. Our vision is not to become a bot or anything like that's conversational, but it's like all you do is you're sitting here with me having this conversation and you're getting push notifications telling you or messages or something telling you that this stuff has been made. So peace of mind, easy. You're informed. You're not taking any actions.
Yeah, and that time when the AI is like a representation of myself and can make decisions by itself, but representing me, right? My intentions, what I'm doing regarding my finances, then I will be living a happy life,
A happy life. But
Yes.
also, Tony, it's super hard for us to know what money movements should we do. So like, where do you invest? How much money are you gonna get on your retirement? You don't know this. I know you for like 1 hour, and I know for a fact that you don't have the answer to these questions because nobody does. Like, no one does. And you shouldn't. Like, maybe capitalism's like the system should inform you, should prepare for you, should try to maximize your value, your money, instead of just the companies. So this is what I think a lot. Like, even if the AI is able to replicate your brain, when it comes to financial decisions, your brain is stupid. So no, I don't think the AI should replicate your brain. I think it should replicate a model that would maximize money value for you in all along your life, if that's even possible. But I think it's gonna be possible.
Looking forward to that future.
Me
Final
too.
question. If you weren't building Noh, what problem would you be working on?
So
I know, a tough one.
No, I have two options, okay? Two backup options. One, I wanted to be the president of Brazil, so I would be working on Brazil. And then two, the one thing that I've always loved in my whole life is aesthetics, hair and makeup. So I wanted to have like a neighborhood hair salon that people left out there pretty. So one of these two options, I would be super happy about it.
Two different personas, by the way.
Three
But we
different
need
personas, right?
Oh, yes, three different personas, but we need transparency in politics. So I root for you as a president. So we need that radical transparency. So hopefully,
I think so. I think politics is the opposite of transparency. And if someone is able I don't care if you're how do you say, if you're bank robbing the country, just let us know. You know what I mean? Just say it, because everybody is like they're all corrupt. But just say, I wouldn't do that, of course. But what I mean is, like, if you treat people with transparency, it's basic. Anyways.
yeah. No, and I believe that transparency is one trait that you need to build and you need to start building like from now,
I
like
think,
because
yeah. I think it's something
it's
that you
something it's
must value. You gotta value it. You gotta value when other people are transparent to you. Because I do understand that in corporations, all the times there are all lies or all like made up numbers, made up goals and histories and stories and everything that people tell us to make us work 9 to 5, which, come on, it sucks. So they have to come up with all this idea that's not real. But if you are real and if you say like, yeah, it sucks, but here we are, we're solving a nice problem. If people value that, there's no turning back.
Anna, this has been absolutely fascinating. It was a lovely and honest conversation. So I really appreciate you taking the time, and I want a part two, hopefully in the next 6 months or a year when your company is growing, because I really want to learn not only the professional life. I think the personal life. I think there's an amazing background that I want to learn more, but. For now, I think this take one is being very, very insightful.
Thanks for having me. I loved the questions. I love how much work you put into getting to know Noh and inviting me here. I know this podcast is going to be a huge success and have to be part of it in the early days. One day, 10 years from now, we're going to be talking about it. So thank you and good luck.
Thank you. If you like the episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and comment.